Phantom shipmates, after 2 months tied up alongside the pontoon while I was waiting for a machined part for the steering mechanism. The supplier let me down there terribly. This is my very first outing after installing the NKE autopilot. So I don't even know how it works yet. I just hooked everything up and then cast off my lines. And apologies if this video seems a little choppy. I filmed it over 3 months as I was doing little bits and pieces of the refit work while I was... I'll very briefly go over some of the maintenance things I had to do on the boat that I just bought. You know, when you buy a boat that's got an engine that's 12 years old, you have to seriously inspect things, or you're going to have some unpleasant surprises. So I did some pretty major changes here. You can see the first thing I think you should always look at is the exhaust elbow. This one was all corroded away on the inside of it, and the hole was almost blocked. You can see all the damage in there. So I bought a new one, and so the new one will go on. That's cost about 400 euros. Then this thing was leaking. This is the heat exchanger insert, the element of the heat exchanger. And you see right here, right along this edge here, there's a little edge that's broken off of that heat exchanger. Otherwise it would just clean it up and it would be okay to use. But it was leaking out of this spot right here. So I went ahead and bought a new one to replace it, because this was leaking some kind of fluid down onto the engine that was corroding the engine. So that was 600 euros. Now here's something that upsets me. That's Volvo. I went ahead and changed the air filter because it was pretty black on the inside of the air filter. And you know, shame on Volvo. You have to buy the whole thing. They don't just give you a replacement element. So you have to buy the whole thing, which is 60 euros. So I'll do that. The other thing that really upset me as well when I bought this boat was that this was not working, the tachometer. And so I said, okay, I'll replace the tach. And when I went there, and the guy said, I'm sorry to tell you this, but it costs 600 euros. And I went, wow, that's pretty nice. Must have a GPS in it, and it must be able to receive and download grids for the weather. Unfortunately, no. It's a tachometer with an hour meter and a warning light in it. So 600 euros. So Volvo, I'm sorry, that's just abuse. I'll be looking at Cummins the next time I have to replace one. Water there. So those are kind of the engine kind of things. Now I'll go over some of the other structural things as well that I'm changing. So this is something I'm not too comfortable with. You can see this crack here. The stay, the tension force on the stay comes down onto this, and it pulls it up in tension in this direction. Now this is a fresh coat of paint on the boat. It's freshly painted, so this may just be an excess of paint that a little vibration caused that, or this may be pulling the front end of the boat off, because below this is exactly the same thing. It's just this plate. So what I really wanted to do was convert this into both a force in tension but also in shear. If they had just brought the slip around here and bolted it in this way too, then it would be in tension and in shear to try to secure the stay. So what I've done is I removed one of these bolts, and on the underside of that is an eye bolt. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I've asked a local machining shop to make me a plate, and I'll put it here, drill a hole through, and have an eye bolt on the other side that then I'll connect those two with a turnbuckle, and that will make distribute the force. Okay, to resolve the problem of this plate on, and behind that plate is another eye, and then I connected the two eyes here and here on the inside with a turnbuckle, and I'll show that to you. It's inside the anchor locker, and here you can see the turnbuckle connecting the eye to the front of the boat to the eye to the top of the boat here to prevent the forestay from pulling off the front end of the deck. At least I'll sleep better there. Anyway, that's one of the projects. And by popular demand, and these are my friends from Secteur Blanc, La Rochelle-Grémont, who are preparing the boat to take the mast down. We need to take the mast down in order to install a new anemometer, and I'm going to change the radio as well, and the masthead light doesn't work either, so I'm going to fix all that up. Change. And there it is, in place. Now I just have to attach the various stays. And something else I had to change was the throttle quadrant. That's what this is. The throttle sits on the other side of this, and the cables hook into this, the clutch cable and the throttle cable. But look at the shape that this is in. Look at how much longer would that have lasted before the throttle would have just fallen off in my hand. You know, Mr. U-Flex, I don't know what material this is made out of, but you might want to rethink that, because that's unsafe. The only reason I bought another one of these was because I didn't have confidence that I would be able to hook up the cables the same way, and anyway, so I bought the same one again, but I have to tell you, my degree of confidence is not real high. 179 euros for that. One of the critical changes I needed to make to the boat was to add a very serious professional autopilot system. And one of the challenges with this kind of a boat is that it's got a rack and pinion steering system. Here, I disconnected it a bit here, but that means that it doesn't have a rudder stock in the traditional way that you could hook up an autopilot to. The only thing that most people do is hook an autopilot up to, for example, something like this, hook it directly to the tiller. But that's kind of a compromise. So what I needed to do was have this piece here machine built this summer, and so this will mount underneath that chrome there, and this thing here, so this will be underneath the deck. This will be underneath the deck. This electric ram will turn it left and right, and that's how I'll control the boat. The electric ram, and this is from Ray Marine, is what drives it, and this is just a dumb electric ram that goes in and out like that, and it is attached. What gives it the signals is a very smart electronic computer system based on a lot of sensors: the wind, the pitch of the boat, the roll of the boat, the heading of the boat, and all of that goes into an NKE computer and gives an electric signal to the ram, and that's what steers the boat, gives you the autopilot. Now, you can see these pieces of black tape that I put down here into this black line. When you use this, you're supposed to limit the degree of turn to 35 degrees either direction, and that's fine for when you're at sea. I think it might make some of the arrivals at the marina a bit interesting. I'll have to wait and see. Not yet though, but I'll figure all that out. There's about 6 or 7 calibration steps to do, and I haven't done any of them yet. So I just wanted to get out sailing again. So I even brought the wrong foresail with me today, but I threw out the asymmetric spinnaker as well, just for fun. And let me show you what this looks like underneath it. And this is under the dock. So this is the ram. This is the part that connects to a shaft that's hooked to the tiller. And this little device here sends the angle of the rudder to the computer for calculations. So there we go. Let me show you what it looks like inside. some of the other, I'll show you some of the other things I've done as well. So while I was waiting, I redid all of the electrics there. So, including some minor things that, I mean, this is the voltmeter here. It's reading 12.7 now. I had one of those analog ones before, you know, that read from 10 to 30 volts, you know. It was just, anyway. And I changed the whole electric panel, because before, and I labeled all of the wires. Every single wire is labeled now. I got a new radio with GPS installed. This is the old computer system. What do they call it? The plotter. That it works, but I'm just never ever going to use it. And I got a new AIS from Vesper Marine. This is actually now obsolete at Vesper Marine. They've gone to a new model. It's kind of a mobile telephone type looking device called Cortex, I think is the name of it. But I like this format. Anyway, so I installed all of those electrics there. And now let me show you what the electronic installation of an NKE system looks like. So this is the heart of the system. It's a gyro pilot, and there's some fuses and all. And then into all of these boxes is where you plug in the sensors, the water, the log for your speed in water, the I'm sorry. You can plug in AIS there as well. You can. You have your anemometer for your wind speed, and that's what all of these wires are. They're plugged into there. So that's the system, and you know, it looks kind of simple, but trust me, if you've never done one before, you really need someone to coach you through it, because I got really frustrated then. It seems simple, but all of these wires, some of them have 3 wires inside of them, some of them have 4 wires inside of them, etc., etc. And if you can't quite figure out what to do, you can get very frustrating. So I've installed all of this. This device here is tied to this antenna up here, and that allows me to use my remote control to change heading and even the modes, all of that. Here's our very fancy gyro compass that requires a very special and kind of weird calibration system that I haven't done yet. So I have all of this to do, and then I have to read all of the books to figure out how to do this. So that's what's coming next. But I'm back out on the water. I'm going to probably go sailing every day for the next 2 months to try to learn this thing and figure out what the optimal settings are, because there are a lot of settings. This is not a simple. This NKE system, I'm going to do a full report on it in a few months, and I'll let you know. It's not a system for casual coastal sailing. It's something. This is what racers use in performance boats, and it's not 3 different settings that you do. It's 3 different settings for every sensor on the boat, and then even that changes when you're beam reach, close hauled, or running with the wind there. So it's fairly complex. After I get comfortable with the NKE autopilot system and all of its wonderful performance features, I'll do a full report on it and let you know what I think about it. I mean, it's obviously a super product for racers and regatta type people and long distance racers, but is it really suitable? Because it's quite expensive. You're not going to get much change from 10 to 12,000, depending on how many sensors you put on it. 10 to 12,000 euros for a full NKE system. So is that really a good investment for cruising sailors? I'll find out, and I'll let you know, and I'll be completely honest with you. So it's obviously a fantastic product for racers. Is it really suited for cruisers? Well, let's find out. Now, I've ordered all the bits and pieces to install a furler here. But I wanted to give the Hank Don system here a try. So I'll be using Hanks for a while. We'll see where that all goes. I also need to change that. Asymmetric spinnaker is pretty sorry looking. I changed the rigging. The standing rigging's all been changed. And I changed up on the antenna. I changed the VHF, and I put a tricolor light up on the very top as well. So there's no more running lights port and starboard down at sea level. I don't know if I'm going to like that or not. We'll see. But they're up at the top of the mast now. And I also changed the cable that connects to the antenna. 90% of sailboats use a cable, a coax cable that's called RG58. And if you talk to the ham radio experts, they all make fun of us for that. They say, oh geez, you know, that's just a cost reduction effort, although it seems to be an adequate performance. But I went, since I had pulled the master, I went ahead and changed it to RG8X. And I have to tell you that on the radio, I know this is very subjective, it seems much clearer, the transmissions that I receive now. So if you're going to pull your antenna, your mast, and change the antenna, you might want to consider getting RG8X. That's kind of the intermediate. So RG58 is the low end, RG8X is the intermediate one. I think there's another one, I think it's called RG213 or something like that. That's high end. So you can make your own decision up on that. RG58 seems to work well for the vast majority of boats, but people make fun of us for such low quality works. And one last comment. A lot of people ask me, they said, you know, you had a wonderful Bavaria Isabel that took me lots of places and treated me well. It was very comfortable and all that. Why go to a boat like this that's not going to be anywhere near as fun or as comfortable? And you know, I was going to give a detailed explanation about performance and, you know, true wind and this and that and all the different things that you can do with a boat like this. But I think the bottom line is I'm very lucky to still be at a point in my life where I can change a few things and start over and rewrite an ending or two. So hang in there with me as I learn how to use this boat and its now complex navigation system.